r/AskReddit. What compliment do you still remember being given? At the conclusion of a church funeral service, the widow stopped by to see me at the organ console before proceeding to the cemetery. She said, with both smiles and tears, "I want to thank you for your uplifting music. It made my husband's funeral a celebration of his life, rather than a sorrowful occasion." That is one wholesome compliment. Not sure if this was a compliment, but when I showed my grandmother my first office, she looked at me and said, "This was the reason why I came to America and worked day and night in the restaurant." I'm glad that she isn't disappointed in you though. That woman must have been really hard working. Say hello to her for me, if she's still alive and kicking. Alive and kicking sounds like something a kidnapper would say. Dude, that is a huge compliment. It means all her sweat and work were worth it, because it helped you get to where you are. It says a lot, because she probably worked many hard years. I teared up right then and there. In 7th grade, I wore my favorite shirt to school and someone said, "Cool shirt." Felt so good. I wore that shirt at least once a week for the next couple of months. Then someone said, "Why do you always wear that shirt?" Felt so bad. I only wore it to school again when all my other shirts were dirty. You shoulder said, "Why you always looking at it? Take a picture. It lasts longer." One time I went to the doctor wearing an olive green colored shirt. The doctor told me it was such a great color on me. For the next year I bought so many things in olive green thinking I'd finally found my color. Went back to the doctor a year or so later wearing a shirt that was not olive green, and the first thing my doctor says is that they love my shirt. It's such a great color on me. Turns out she probably just gives that compliment to everyone, and I took it to heart. Alternative explanation: every color looks great on you because you're sexy AF. The doctor has a shrine of you in their closet, covered in different fabrics. I was in the drive-thru of McDonald's and the young lady working the window said I had beautiful eyes. This was 10 years ago, and I'm still riding that one. She said beautiful ice. They had just gotten a new ice maker installed that morning. Hopefully it didn't break too soon. Same. I was in 9th grade and this tall blonde that I was crushing on walked right up to my face, had a staring contest, and just said, "You have pretty eyes," before walking away. She was way out my league, but it was still nice. If a girl goes out of her way to compliment you, you definitely have a shot. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. A group of drunk girls in a bar gave me a hug because I smelled yummy and wanted to smell yummy too. Drunk girls give the best compliments. And insults. And advice. You're on your own if you can't tell the difference though. About 4 to 5 years ago, a girl in my college class said I had nice pants. I looked at those pants like they were the cure for cancer after that day. Dude. I literally met my wife by saying, "Cool pants," in college. That was 5 years ago. I had to reread your comment a few times just to make sure it wasn't somehow related to me. His username checks out. When I was chilling at a festival, some dude came up to me out of nowhere like, "Hey listen, I hope I'm not being weird or something, but I saw you and had to come over and tell you I dig your style. You really nailed this look. It's really unique. I just thought you should know." And then he just left and I never saw him again. Love those good festival vibes. A drunk woman at a bar was walking past me and stopped and said, "In case anyone hasn't told you, you look really good tonight." And then kept on walking. That was 3 to 4 years ago. Still makes me feel good when I think about it. There are 3 types of people who tell the truth: children, angry people, and drunk people. Heaven help you if you run into a drunk angry child. Although angry people are also prone to telling lies to hurt you/benefit them. That was probably me. I do that type of thing a lot when drunk. But my compliments are always sincere. Drunk women in bars give the best and most sincere compliments. Same. But also when I'm sober. My husband has learned to accept that I will always stop a stranger that is deserving of a compliment. When I was about 15, very depressed and with body dysmorphia, my mum and I visited the perfume floor of Harrods. I was there in a hoodie with unwashed hair and too anxious to speak to any of the staff. When we got to one of the perfume shops and sat down, the very gentlemanly salesman told me I had a beautiful smile. After talking a little with my mum and giving her a few testers, he gave me a tester he said I might like, and he'd written the name of the perfume on the card. It was called Love, Don't Be Shy. Always sticks in my head as being one of the loveliest interactions I've ever had, even though it obviously didn't mean anything. No. It did mean something. It was a person who recognized that you could use some kindness and knew you deserved it. You guys are constantly restoring my faith in humanity. When I was in high school I was put in a special math class for students that weren't so good in the subject. We learned the same things, but the class just went at a slower pace. I took AP, English and history classes, but math and science were essentially foreign concepts to me, I guess, so I kind of needed it. In 10th grade the math teacher my special math class was assigned to was Mr. Smith, not real name. Mr. Smith was the football coach and just had a reputation for being this very stoic and stern individual who many students were afraid of. No matter how much of a rebel you were, no one ducked around in a Mr. Smith class. One day towards the end of the year, Mr. Smith told me to stay behind for a moment when I was leaving his class. After everyone left, he told me that he just wanted to let me know that he saw how much I was improving and that he was proud of me. I left that class and almost cried. What he said was so simple, but coming from him it meant so much. He never gave out compliments and always seemed like more of a tough love type of guy. I always worked hard for my grads, and at that time I really needed what he said to me. I hope part of the lesson learned along the way was that math is about being careful and making sure you don't have any gaps in your understanding. The main problem people have with it is going too fast and skipping a building block. Until college level, everything builds on itself. So if your understanding of step n is poor, you'll have trouble with step n+1. Most people aren't naturally bad at math. They're usually just tripping up over something. Math is a subject where one bad teacher can ruin it for you. I was lucky enough to have a really good teacher right after having a bad one, so I learned all of the things I missed and didn't falsely believe I was just bad at math and shouldn't try. One teacher told my kid she had better language skills than math skills, and now that she's entered high school she's adopted that as a belief. Thankfully she has a switched on math teacher who takes the time to explain and re-explain concepts so that my kid gets to understand them. They're working on fractions at the moment and the teacher went all the way back to wooden blocks to teach my kid that fractions aren't as intimidating as they seem. A super cute guy working in a food truck took my order and said to the cook, "1 burger and fries for this beautiful girl right here." Then when he gave me my food he said, "Here you go darling," with a wink. Big swan. Even if he was being nice, it really made an impression on my very insecure 24-year-old self, lol. I once went into a pizza place to pick up my order and the guy behind the counter said, "This is free for you, beautiful. Just take it." I smiled big, said thank you, and awkwardly just turned and left. He called out, "Have a good night." I think I responded in kind. Got back in the car with my sisters and told them that dude gave me the pizza for free because he thinks I'm pretty. One sister high-fived me and took her share of the pizza money back. The other one asked if I know him or had gone in there before. Nope. Never saw him again either. He probably got fired because he was giving pizza away for free. What do you mean you didn't get the money? You had one job. I'm 5.2 and petite. I know it's average, but I've always felt small. In college, an acquaintance and I stood up after class. She looked at me and said, I always forget how short you are, unincorporated. You have such a big presence. Whenever I feel small, I think of this and stand taller. This one was funny when read with your username in the quote. Made it seem like she was referring to the fact that you are not a business, lol. It just asks for the pickup line, are you a sole proprietor or in a partnership? See, I thought unincorporated was just an adjective that I didn't know too, but then I read this comment and then I noticed the username was the same and I thought they made their username because of the compliment they received. And then I finally understood after way too long thinking about it. In my latest mugshot picture in the description it said slim. My best friend's mugshot picture is literally the best picture ever taken of him. Someone said I had a great personality when I felt like the most boring person in the planet. Made me feel so much more confident. I spent weeks alone during lockdown, and when I finally ventured out I got chatting to a woman. She said, wow, you are a really interesting person. I'm glad I met you. That was so nice to hear. After I had gone into the gynecologist because I had some worries about my IUD being out of place, it wasn't, thank God. My doctor took a look at my x-ray/ultrasound and exclaimed, you have such a beautiful uterus. I've never received such a strangely uplifting compliment and I'll never forget it, LMAO. Similar thing here, I recently moved from UK to USA and part of my visa process was a medical, which included a lung x-ray. The x-ray tech reviewed them then and there and went, wow. You have really long lungs. But like, in a complimentary tone of voice. I told him I used to play the clarinet, and he was like, ah yes, lungs like these are either woodwind players or swimmers. I don't know, I'm now weirdly proud of my big lungs, lol. I was playing a song I made up for the piano when I was like 10, and my new teacher walks in and asks where the sheet music is for it. I felt so proud. Back in high school, my UBO teacher had me sight read a piece, that is, play something I'd never seen or played before, while he played the piano accompaniment. Immediately after we finished, one of the heads of the music dep knocked on the door and said, hey, just wanted to let you know that sounded great, good work. My teacher responded, would you believe she was sight reading? He looked so surprised, and my teacher just sounded so proud, best compliment ever. This was like a decade ago, I wish I still played, but I take pity on my neighbors. In my early 20s I went to a local coffee shop with some coworkers. Without warning a very attractive young lady came up to me, said, hi, shoved a piece of paper into my hand, and then walked out the door. The piece of paper had her name and phone number on it. Only one word was spoken, but it wasn't slightly overwhelming acknowledgement. Did you text her? Are you married? Please lie and say yes. I'm married, my anniversary was yesterday, but not to her. Not the lie I wanted, but still worked out I suppose. Happy anniversary. My Chinese, she was from China, came to US for grad school, roommate told me I was better at using chopsticks than her. I think she just meant I use them in a more formal way, but I don't care, I was super thrilled anyway. I loved living with her. An old Japanese grandma once told me I was very good at using my chopsticks. That is the highest of levels of respects. It was the best day of my life. At 17, a guy dashed out of a cafe, ran after me and said, you are the most beautiful woman I have ever seen. Lol. I also got a similar one. I think I was 20. The guy came to me to say that and left. He just wanted to say, I'm 36 now, and never ever heard it again. He was probably blind. I was a teenager at the zoo, asked the ticket taker how much the ticket was. He said, free for you cause you're so cute. I couldn't make sense of what he said through the speaker, so I asked him to repeat it, and when he did I couldn't possibly believe that's true, so I laughed and said, "No really, how much is it?" My friends and I paid, and we're on our way. I'm dumb. Got yourself out of a free ticket. I said, "It's free for you." What a yap, Def. It's free for your friends though, they're cute. I was 2 weeks into my first job in high school, and it was miserable. The manager's personal life was falling apart, and she was taking it out on us. Most of my coworkers wouldn't give me the time of day, plus I had to deal with everything that came with working fast food, dealing with horrible customers, etc. I was planning on quitting by the end of the week. One day I wore my hair to work a little bit different. I was growing out my bangs at the time, and I left them down instead of pinning them back, and the boy in the kitchen told me it looked pretty. I assumed he was just trying to be nice and thanked him. He went on and said, "No, seriously, I think the clips are super cute and all, but you really look great today." Kept me from quitting that job. That boy and I are talking about marriage now. So wholesome. My boyfriend in high school was always late for our dates, but would usually show up with flowers. When I called him out on it, he said he was late on purpose because I was beautiful when I was angry. Probably bullshit, but well played. Outstanding move. Methodica playing 8D chess. Walking up to the stage at my graduation, I encountered a guy whose job was to stand there and say, "Congratulations, doctor." Over a decade later, I still feel warm and fuzzy thinking about that, even though I have no idea who that was. A guy on my committee said it first, right after my defense, but I was too shell-shocked to process it then.